Welcome, dear listeners, to episode 18 of Karate 360. I'm your host, Richard Mosdell.
And I'm Kalan Anglos. Welcome, guys.
Thanks a lot for downloading us, listening to us, surfing the web, trying to find us. And if you're just finding us now, we're so glad you did.
Yeah, and we got some more karate news. We're back in our Karate 360 studio here, our actual studio, not our studio on wheels.
4,000 square feet of karate greatness going on.
That's right. And we got some more of our regular scheduled segments to bring you guys, some Karate Global News, as well as some technical, and some karate training tips. But before we dive into all of that, we just want to talk a little bit about some karate events that are coming up here in the near future. The first one being the Karate Canada National Championships in Quebec City on February 24th to 26th. Richard, you'll be there.
That's right. We'll both be there.
We'll both be there.
With the best of the best in Canada.
That's right. Do you speak any French?
Parlez-vous français?
Ah, oui, oui. That's about all I got, but that's all right. We'll make it work. It's supposed to be cold in February, I'm told.
Well, it's cold everywhere right now, so.
That's true. Yeah. No, so it should be good. Also, K1 at the end of January has a tournament, the K1 Premier League in Paris, France, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that.
Patty.
Petty. Have you ever been?
No, I have not been, actually.
No, me neither. I haven't been anywhere.
Next year, let's broadcast right from the Paris K1.
Let's do it. Absolutely. And this is a big one, and we're going to talk a little bit more about it, a record-setting K1 tournament there in Paris, France. So more to talk about there.
Awesome. Also, in the middle of April, there is the fantastic U.S. Open in Las Vegas.
Yes, that's right. Yep, April 14th to 16th.
Normally they get around 1,200 athletes and 16 rings. They have a fantastic crew of people down there. So if you're in the neighborhood or want to be in the neighborhood, aim for that one because it's a warm-up.
For the big one.
Canada Open Karate Championships, the inaugural, the first ever, on June 3rd and 4th at the Richmond Olympic Oval in Vancouver.
The big granddaddy. You can be the first Canada Open champion.
That's right.
And it's great. I've already had people from all different countries interested in signing up and ready to come over. So it's going to be awesome.
It's going to be fantastic. I'm just in the process now of finalizing the last few parts of the plan.
Yeah, it's great. And for you guys listening, again, we want to thank you guys for tuning in. We are Karate 360. You can find us on all our social media, karate360podcast.com, as well as our social media, Karate 360 podcast on Twitter and Facebook as well. And what we're going to do for this episode is we have a video that we watched a little earlier today, just before we started recording, and we're going to talk about that video. So if you guys want to kind of follow along with what we're talking about, we are going to post that video on our website. Again, that's karate360podcast.com, and we will talk about it, and you guys can join in.
I promise it's not pen, pineapple, apple, pen.
No, it is a karate video.
It is an awesome karate video.
Yes, from the Japan National Championships that were recently happened in Okinawa. And yeah,
Tokyo.
We're going to talk a little bit. Oh, in Tokyo. Yes, that's right. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. So again, guys, thank you. This is Karate 360, episode 18 of Karate 360. Here we go.
Karate 360, let's start the show. You will kick high and I will sweep low. From local to global, it's the thing that we love. Karate Sanokumaru.
Yes, we are Karate 360, and yes, we thank you guys for joining in and listening to us. And again, here we are at the Karate 360 studio.
In beautiful Kenzan Sports Karate.
That's right. Yeah, the Kenzan Studio Productions here.
Absolutely. Kalan, anything particular, anything interesting, anything happened to you, anything you saw happen in your karate travels?
Well, we just got fresh off the Karate BC team selection tournament, and that was a great event. We talked a lot about that on our last podcast when we were kind of recording in our car in the ferry ferry lineup as well as
On
on
the way
the
back.
ferry itself on the way back to the island. So.
Had to pause for the buffet.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we did. We paused, got up, buffet, and came back down and finished that off. So that was a good trip. So just kind of finalizing some stuff on that.
Seeing the people walk by the car thinking we were singing karaoke.
That's
in the
right.
car.
Everybody was looking at us. What are they doing with those microphones there? And didn't phase us. We just kept going. And so we were just kind of finalizing that. Of course, our Karate Canada National Championships coming up soon. So really just trying to get things lined up for that. I booked my ticket to Quebec City. So
when are you flying?
I fly on the Tuesday. So the tournament starts on Friday. I will be there Tuesday the 21st.
Oh.
I opted not for the red eye and not for the super early morning flights there back. So yeah, I'm ready to go there for the national championships.
That's great. Yeah, I did opt for the red eye, so I'm flying all night.
Yeah.
Just because I have to work here and kick and punch with all the kids in the club.
And you're one of those weird ones that just likes getting up early in the morning and, just going for it. You just wake up. I know you drink coffee, but do you absolutely need coffee? I mean, you're just up in the morning and you're going.
I don't know if I need coffee. I like the taste.
Oh,
I don't like
love
to
it.
drink it too late.
Sure.
Because
yeah.
I can definitely sense the jitters.
Yeah.
But it's funny. I can do the really late night and a really early morning.
Yeah.
But not every day.
No, I can't do it any day for the most part. I mean, I can do it if I absolutely have to get through it, but I think you're on a different level. You just kind of plug your batteries back in and away you go.
Like Arnold Schwarzenegger says, I just sleep faster.
That's right. Just sleep faster. Sleep harder.
Sleep harder. Sleep faster.
Yeah. So that's kind of been my week, just getting all our coaching obligations done, getting the tickets booked and just trying to get all the athletes ready. I mean, a lot of even karate athletes here in our club are talking about kind of amping up their training a little bit more and trying to get that going, not even necessarily for competition, just for their own karate training. We talked a little bit about the new year, new me type of thing that people always get on every year, and I think a lot of people are making that switch. And now that karate's in the Olympics, whether you're going for that route, for the competitive route or not, it's just an exciting time to be in karate. So people just want to train and keep getting better. And you're always kind of relating it back to training in Japan, and people want to get ready for that and get up to that level almost.
Mm-hmm. This week has been the first full week back for kids going to school.
That's
and
right. Yeah, myself included.
All the kids' parents in December before Christmas who came in and said, "Give me a uniform, give me a membership. We'll be back in January." Started showing up this week.
Yeah.
And then so they were showing up with a ton of people trying classes.
Yeah. A lot of new faces for sure.
Lots.
Yeah.
So we have some really packed classes, and me explaining how the karate world and the karate system works.
Yeah.
The key is be consistent.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, just we talked about it before, just get to the dojo and just kind of get training. But absolutely, consistency is key, getting there and training for sure. Yeah, so just tell everybody, just try and be as consistent as you can, and you'll see the benefits. One kid came in today, he's with his grandmother, and I have a toothache, I can't do karate. So grandma took him home, and I understood she really wanted to be careful with him. Sure. Yeah. But you could see him like running around outside like 2 seconds later. He has to be consistent. If he's consistent being brought to the club, he'll learn, he'll develop, he'll grow. So all those people who are making those New Year's resolutions and kicking in January and looking to, us as karate instructors, and you coming also to as a professional sports strength and conditioning coach, right? You're probably seeing them come in. It just got to be consistent, and then we can really do something for them. Yeah, absolutely. And you always kind of see it, especially in the gym or in the training world, where people starting fresh in January, and then right around this time, 3 weeks, 4 weeks in, you start to tail off. So it's just a matter of getting in the habit, I think. Yeah. Just going and continuing that habit and making it part of your day, every day that you're supposed to be there type thing. And the cool thing about karate, I mean, a lot of sports are like this, but some aren't. But the more you come to karate, the more you learn, the funner it gets. Yeah, exactly. You dive in, and there's only so many ways that a class is actually presented. So after you've gone through all the different cycles, you know what to expect. So it's January, it's people coming in, it's us describing things. I did have someone ask me, she said,
Her son's really crazy about Power Rangers right now.
Okay.
Did I tell you this before?
No, I was such a big Power Rangers fan when I was a kid. There's a new movie coming out, and I can't wait.
Oh, really?
On my
Okay.
birthday.
Okay.
Too.
All right. Yeah. So she said, he's really into Power Rangers. Can he come and do a birthday party? I was like, well, that's great. He's really into Power Rangers. And if you want to make the cake and cookies and presents part after for Power Rangers, but during the karate time, they have to understand it's karate. Because we've had some parents tell their kids that they're coming to a ninja party.
Yes.
So they're wondering where are the shuriken and where are we blending in? I said, well, I had to explain to them, the thing about being a ninja, like the number one rule is, we're not allowed to tell anybody we're in ninja school.
I thought that was the number one rule of Fight Club.
Well, they had to get it from somewhere.
That's true. That's very true. That's
so
very
it's
true.
the number one rule that, we can't tell anybody if we're doing any ninja stuff in here because, it's a secret.
Yeah. And people, especially new people coming in, have to understand that this is the karate world. And when you walk through those doors, it's karate. It's karate training, whether it's here for a birthday party. If you're in the dojo, you're doing karate training. And that's the same thing for us. Again, we're starting up next week the Camosun college karate classes that we're doing. And we know that Professor Kerry Wadsworth, who kind of runs that, he wants that to get that feeling for them to come in, even the college students, if they're new to us or new to any martial arts or whatever, come in and get that karate feeling. You want to make sure that you're, what do you say, coming into the fantasy world or whatever.
Oh yeah, it's anything you do, there's some sort of fantasy that wraps around it. I like to think of like people who really like to ride their bicycles, and they get all the Lycra and the special shoes and the helmet, and they're out there riding hard and sweating hard, and that's great. But they're wrapping themselves in the fantasy of what they're doing. Yeah. Right? Just like we are with the uniforms. Every time you put on a team jersey, if you play soccer or whatever, there's a fantasy. Some of the first things the kids say is, when can I get the uniform? Yeah. But then I'm more than happy to give them one because they feel part of the club, feel one of the members.
For sure. Yeah.
Yep. It's funny also when the parents walk up and go, "Are you a sensei?"
Yes. Yeah.
And there is no actual formal way of being given a sensei title. Like some clubs give it to their sensei, but really it's only about, whoever pays the rent, organizes the group.
Sure.
They're gonna get sensei title. That's it.
Yeah.
Now, if you're a certified coach, that's a different thing.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I remember when I was young, and whenever I'd seen my sensei outside of the dojo, I wasn't quite sure if I should call him by his name or should I call him sensei. Because you call somebody sensei, at school or whatever, you see him or at a soccer match or something like that, everyone's kind of like, wow, why are they calling him sensei type thing? Yes. Do the kids call you sensei when they see you outside of Canada?
I tell them they have to.
Oh, yeah?
That's right.
That sets the line right there.
Yeah. It's not like I'm trying to create a cult, but it's like, if you see Coach Smith, hey, Coach Smith.
Yeah, that's very true.
Right?
Yeah.
When the parents call me sensei, or the adults even call me sensei, when we go outside, I go, listen, when we're at the restaurant or whatever, just call me Richard.
Yeah.
When I was in Japan and the guys listening to this like, hey, Pete Williams might be listening to us. I'm giving him a shout out. And Rich, there was a point in time, especially in the last sort of like 4 or 5 years I was there, where I wasn't just senpai, I was like dai senpai, like big senpai.
Okay.
Because I broken a bit of new ground by being a non-Japanese who was paid full-time to teach karate and high performance
in Japan.
Yeah. And so then I was always trying to help anybody else who was trying to do the same thing, like whatever I could do. And so when a whole bunch of the foreigners who were now after me were getting full-time gigs teaching karate, and then after having the internship program, we had like 9 people go through it. So I was dai senpai, not just senpai. Yeah. Right? And so I would tease them and when we would get together, I would say, the regiment's getting together. It's the regiment. It's that idea of like we're all expats overseas, but we're not just traveling, we're doing something really good. Yeah. And then go to karaoke or whatever. And I was actually, I think it was Pete, I was talking maybe a month ago about the regiment and how all the boys are doing and stuff like that. But titles can be overused and abused. Sure. And in Japan, you can't call yourself sensei.
Somebody else.
Yeah, you have to call only if you're phoning someone who's a direct student. You go, hey, sensei, where are you? You're late. We're supposed to be at the train station at 7 o'clock. Gotta go to this tournament. Train's coming at 7:02. Then you can say sensei. But when you call somebody, you just say your name.
Yeah.
Yep. But it is cute when the parents come up and say, hey, sensei. Yeah. So, well, as long as they call me sensei while they're consistently training, I'm happy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter. And I guess when you first start in karate, when you start getting going, actually when you've even been in it for a while, you almost create like that karate family type thing, right?
Absolutely.
So, and that's what I used to always say when I was a kid too. You know, there's my home family, and then there's my karate family. Right?
It's funny you say that, because there is, for some people, especially, I mean, this is really heavy in Asia, but you have your family, you have your work, you have your school life, and normally your school teacher's like your counselor.
Yeah.
Like you don't just go to a counselor. You're homeroom teacher, and you always have a homeroom teacher all the way up. And then you tell someone like, oh yeah, and I do martial arts. Like, oh, you have like another family?
Yeah.
You have like another whole set of obligations, and you fit into this like, higher, lower hierarchy where you have to interact with people and try really hard, because if you don't try really hard, then you're gonna let your whole group down, and you don't have that here.
No.
Not I mean, maybe you do if you're on a rugby team or something, but not the same. So yeah, but it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool that to see all these people just be running in, especially now where sometimes we don't have to really do marketing. It's just word of mouth, people talking about us.
Yeah, I think that's one of the best ways to get it out there for sure, is people in the club referring you to other people.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We had every 6 months they do a spot fire inspection. The fire department comes in. And so a guy came in that had gone forest firefighting with me like way back, like 25 years ago. He's like, hey, I know you. Like, yeah, I know you too. Like I recognize them. Like, yeah, we went forest firefighting. Like, yeah, we did. And so, of course, he still inspected the place properly. He's like, you're still doing karate? I'm like, yeah, karate, man. You just got to be consistent. You just got to keep going at it. Keep working at it.
Yeah.
So it's good.
See, I think the kind of thing happens to me too, but I don't know if it was just because I was more focused on competing or whatever it was, but I'll have people come up to me and they'll say, oh, hey, you're a karate guy, well, they'll start talking to me, and they'll know me, and I'll have absolutely no idea who they are, not a clue who they are. Yes. I'll talk to them, yeah, whatever, I'll walk away, and whoever I'm with will go, who's that? And I go, I have no idea who that was, not a clue.
Somebody who was watching you in the nationals or provincial.
Yeah. Oh, are you still training, and are you still there? No, I'm not still there anymore. I'm still training. I'm not competing.
Yes.
So it's kind of funny the way that works, and that it's kind of that network you build up through karate, whether you know it or not, I guess.
Oh, it's big. Well, I think anything where you're professional, like sometimes I tell you, it's kind of like you're in scuba diving, where the more you do it, the better you get at it, the more exotic places you go to. And coming to the dojo is a travel. Like you have to put a commitment in. It's like going to the gym. The hardest part is to get there.
Yeah.
You got to travel to get there. And then it's a journey. Sometimes it's a little tricky. Our location's great, but then you've got to, peel off that regular layer, put on the karate layer, and, bow in the dojo and be humble and work out with everybody. So 2017 will be quite interesting to see, just not only our club expand and go to more events and interact with more people, but also how things get ready for at a much higher level, all the preparation going to the Olympics, because that's just for 80 people.
Yeah.
100 million people out there in the world doing it, 2 million people competing at any time, right? 200 events happening a month around the world. Actually, this month, Craig's going to be going to the Paris K1 with the Canadian team.
That's right.
Yeah. So eventually we'll hug time and get him over here and talk about the event.
Ambush him.
Yeah.
And then also later this year too is the announcement, the Olympic announcement for 2024.
Yeah, in June.
Yes. In June. So that's going to be another big announcement coming down the pipes for karate.
Actually, I was talking to a couple other sport coaches who were saying, I don't think you guys will get it. And I'm like, well, we'll see, because once 2020 went through, it'd be very strange to turn off the tap.
Yeah.
When a lot of preparation is already happening to get us ready for it. So I think, now they're announcing a lot of other sports being recognized as international federations.
That's right.
The next stage of those sports will get to be in the World Games. It's going to be a really interesting year. But that could almost be a bigger announcement than last year, because
Sure.
that means that there will be a regular sport in the schedule.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's big. And I think, and maybe you can even touch on this a little bit, but I think just the fact that the Olympics in 2020 are in Tokyo kind of gives karate a better chance of getting through, because you know that for 2020 they're going to make all the right preparations. They've already started everything. And
The building's built.
Yeah, well, of course it's built. It's been there a while. It's on the cover of a book, I think.
Yeah, Sunny Leads Volume 1.
That's
Look it
right.
up today.
So no, I think it's good that I think it's helpful, at least, that it's in Tokyo.
Oh, it's awesome. 50 years after the World Federation was formed. There's so much massive buzz going through. Every day in Japanese media, there's something new about karate, or some new commercial with different karate stars. And I think it's not just about these 80 athletes that'll go through. It's like all the back end prep. For example, in being in some part of high performance preparation for the province, it's interesting to talk to government bodies, whether it be universities or funding agencies, who really like the idea that a high performance instructor will put half their time into high performance and half into beginner programs.
Yeah.
In coaching, they say you should take your very, very top coach and put them at the very, very beginning stages of an athlete's career, because then they're going to learn everything as correctly as possible.
No, that makes sense.
Instead of having someone who's not as experienced or knowledgeable teach them at a lower but more fundamental stage, then have to kind of reteach them later on.
No, that makes sense. Yeah.
So, like in Canada, I'm old enough to know that we're an infrastructure sport. So a lot of times, a lot of infrastructure, millions of dollars is spent on buildings, but not as much as is invested into personnel.
Sure.
And so what we need to do is not invest a large amount of money into buildings for karate, but really put it into people. I think that's what's going to pay off.
Yes. Yeah.
So have high performance coach training people for the nationals in the afternoon and training daycare kids in the morning.
Love it.
Oh, wait a minute. That's my life.
Yeah, that is. That's true. So that's just kind of what's going around here. What we want to dive into, guys, here a little bit is we want to talk a little bit about some Japan land news. And what we're talking about here is the Japan National Championships that took place just a few weeks ago in Tokyo. And it was the 44th Japan Nationals. And what we did is we've already broken down the results on a previous episode, but what we did is we actually watched the finals of the men's kumite match between Ryutaro Araga, who also was a world champion, and he was against Ken Nishimura. Now, the interesting thing about the Japan National Championships in kumite is that they are open weight.
That's right.
So there's no actual weight classes. They're just everybody. And we saw that in some of the videos that we watched, some long, bigger guys against some short, little fast guys.
Yeah, the third and fourth place fight was between someone who was 190 centimeters. And the other guy was like 172.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, so a big difference there. But no, I think it's definitely interesting because you have open weight divisions everywhere, or in most tournaments anyway. They're just deciding to do the whole thing there, so it was great. But yeah, we watched the finals, and what were your kind of initial thoughts? And again, we're going to post this video on our website, and we'll also post it on our Facebook, so you guys will know exactly where to look at and kind of where to start it. It's an hour-long video itself, but we will exactly post where you should.
Yeah, the fight's not an hour long.
No, the fight's not an hour long. The whole video itself.
Yeah, it's kata semifinals and finals, kumite semifinals and finals, both male, female. It's only one division each.
Yeah.
And then they have some of the third and fourth place matches happening right after each one.
That's right. So we watched the whole entire hour video 6 times. And
That's right.
We just broke down every single match, but we just wanted to bring you the one we thought was quite interesting, which is the finals of the men's kumite. So with that, what are your kind of thoughts on that one so far?
Well, first, let's go through the match. See what happens, right? Is Araga and Nishimura, hey, they get on the floor. See, that's what happens.
And he's a point getter.
And he's a point getter. And then so,
although it's finals, so he's not really.
That's right. And the announcers keep saying, as I was translating for Kalan, as it was happening, interpreting in the moment.
You could have been saying absolutely anything.
I could have.
Yes.
I could have.
I always think about that when people, like, when you see a UFC event or whatever,
Yes.
and they're translating for somebody. You could be saying absolutely anything, and people would be buying it.
Hey, my translation was right because exactly what the announcer said. It's exactly what happened.
That's
like 5
true.
seconds later.
Yeah.
So you see what was happening, right? Is they're bouncing around. They both take a category 2 penalty for not doing anything. Then they can take a second category 2 penalty for not doing anything. Then they both punch at the same time. Araga tightly in the red. He slightly scores sooner than Nishimura, who's in the blue, but the referees give it to both sides. Even the announcer goes, it was slightly more for Araga. They shouldn't have given it to the other guy, but they did. They give it to the other guy. So anyway, they start bouncing around a little bit more. And then there's this unbelievable kind of like peacock up, peacock down. I look over your shoulder, you look over my shoulder. Where they try and punch each other, then duck. The guy ducks, looks over the other shoulder, he punches, he ducks. So it's up, down, ducking and ducking. We actually broke out laughing. They separated. Then they came back. Araga threw one punch with his right hand, slightly missed. They turned on an angle at 45 degrees. Araga nailed him right on the kisser. Smack. I knew it was in. You knew it was in. He knew it was in, but his head snapped back. It was horrible the way his head snapped back, but there's no bleeding face. Next thing you know, Araga gets category 1 penalty. Chugok. We kept thinking, ooh, the whole crowd went, ooh, oh no. Next thing you know, we're down to 10 seconds, folks. They're looking at each other. It's 1-1. They both got penalties on the go. But Araga fakes with his right, makes Nishimura open his eyes and think, was the right really coming? And as he was thinking, oh my God, the right's not really coming. And I opened up my guard. Boom! There comes the left hand, just like the announcer said it was going to be left hand, right on the chin at the 1 second final mark.
With 1 second
1
remaining.
second to go.
Can you believe it?
Can you believe it? Araga, emotionless, poker face, just looking like, hey, this is just another day at the office. But however, they zoomed in on Nishimura's face. He's walking back to the line. Nishimura starts shaking his head. His sweat just streaming down his brow, and he's like, I knew it's over. The referee, he's standing right at the line, over the line. He didn't want the line anymore. He wanted to be on the other side. The referee had to say, put your toes behind the line, boy. It's still 1 second left. And then next thing you know, it's over, and Araga wins again. At 26 years old, he takes it. This is his third national championships.
And a single teardrop fell from his eye.
A single teardrop fell from his eye. That's right. Yep. I think I was telling you that I gotta get out of this voice.
It was going. That's pretty good. That was like your auction voice.
It's like my auction voice.
Sold.
Can I have a head punch? Can I have a head punch? It was like 2012, 2011. That's when Araga and this other guy in the finals. I think I told you. We talked about this a previous podcast when there was like a clash where they both dove in, like Araga with his left hand and this other guy with his other hand, and wham, they came out, and Araga was bleeding, and the other guy was bleeding, and what happened is when the other guy countered Araga, he went low. Araga's upper teeth caught the guy in his head.
That's right. Yeah, we watched this.
Yeah, it was kind of interesting. So that was the actual fight.
That was the breakdown.
That was the breakdown.
And if you want to watch the video, you can.
If you want to watch the video, yeah, it's from basically 11 and a half minutes onwards. Well, it's like a finals normally happens.
Yes, it looked very much like a final kumite match.
We're going to wear out as much time as possible.
In fact, I think they wore out so much time that they actually cut the video.
That's right. Especially in the third, fourth match. Because I looked at you like, what's going on? Like, they cut like a minute out.
Yeah. It just came back and they both had 2 or 3 category 2 penalties.
Exactly. They're up to Hansel Kuchui. Araga and Ken Nishimura, they have a lot of international experience.
Yeah.
And they're really, really fast. And I think one of the things you notice is that their hands are really fast.
Hands really fast, but also hands very low, both of them.
Yeah, well, they're trying to suck the person in.
Of course. And as the announcers were saying, or so you said they were saying, the one fighter was trying to draw Araga in.
That was Nishimura.
Nishimura was trying to draw Araga in to try and attack because he's a very good counter puncher.
That's right. Yeah. And then he almost made it. So really fast hands. I think the other thing is, you notice with both of them, they keep their eye on the other person, and they come out of. I mean, Araga's 26, right? So 10 years ago, 16 years old would be 2006, and so he came out of the high school league in Japan when it was really, especially in the late 2000s, when it was really popular to duck under a lead hand punch.
Yeah.
You know, like someone would throw a lead hand punch and they would just pop underneath.
Sure.
And then so that the punch would go over their shoulder. So they both actually kind of come out of that, because in this tournament, but especially when they're doing like, I punch over your shoulder, you punch over my shoulder. You can see that they're used to that. Super relaxed fighters.
Yeah. Really relaxed, and the footwork was good. And I think it was like we kind of said, it's kind of like a chess match between the two.
Yes.
You know, who's going to fire first? I'm going to react to this. But yeah, like I said, a typical finals match. You know, not a lot of action in the first couple minutes, and then kind of a flurry of action in the last 16 seconds or whatever it was.
Exactly. These guys, when you look at them when they're sparring, they just look like it's another day at the office.
Yeah. No facial expression. Just nice and easy.
They do a lot of yelling if they score a point.
Yeah.
That advertising on the side is really bright.
Yeah, it's almost distracting.
Yeah, it's a JAL Airlines and a newspaper there having advertising on the side. By the way, to get into this tournament, Araga gets into the Nationals on an invite because he won the year before. And Nishimura gets in because he won the university championships.
Right. Yeah.
Right? So that's how they get in. Their stances are really long. You see in these the Japanese gis, slightly tight fitting. This is really common. Like that gi could be like especially Nishimura's, that could be a kata gi.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It looks quite small for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, but a lot of faking. Here's that duck. We're watching it right now, and they're ducking and coming over, ducking each other.
1, 2, 1, back and forth. Yeah.
I got to talk about the elephant in the room, by the way.
Okay.
And that's the video on the side that says Dana White offers Floyd Mayweather $25 million to fight Conor McGregor.
Yes.
Conor McGregor.
Yeah.
To fight life. That'd be some numbers that the Karate Boys would love to see.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Just blow them out of the water, really.
Yes.
Yeah. That's an interesting thing. That came out just earlier today, actually.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, here's something, too, we can talk. This is a complete different transition here.
Throw it at me.
A 360, as you might say.
I love that.
But did you see Meryl Streep's little kind of dig at MMA
I did.
on her little speech?
I did. I wrote about it
Globes?
on my Facebook page.
Oh, you did? Okay. Yeah. So for those of you that don't know, Meryl Streep, obviously a legendary actress, been in 100 movies or whatever it is,
She's overrated.
Yeah,
No, she's not.
says Donald Trump. What'd she say? She said that MMA and football, I don't know why she threw football in there, were non-art sports, not art sports. She said, that America would be left with people that are just into MMA and football, which is not the real arts. And I think a lot of people, not only in MMA, but in martial arts in general, kind of took a little bit of offense to that.
Yeah, I didn't like that.
No, I didn't like that either. But, I mean, at the same time, Meryl Streep, I don't know exactly when she was born, but I know it was...
She's in her 60s now.
She's in her 60s or maybe her 70s. And, yeah, I mean, her growing up was maybe a little bit different than the times now, I think. Obviously, martial arts and MMA has come a long way.
I'll read to you what I wrote on my Facebook page, but it's not as funny as what someone commented after I wrote it.
Okay.
Just a second here.
Yeah. No, you should. Because, yeah, I was quite shocked that she would say it's getting a lot of, not necessarily heat, it's got a little bit of heat in the MMA and martial arts world right now, but it also got just a lot of people talking, that's for sure.
I think the thing is, that was unnecessary. I don't even think because she was going after Donald Trump. I don't think Donald Trump even watches MMA.
No.
Okay, so here's what I wrote. But what I wrote is not as interesting as what one of my friends replied on. So I'll say my thing first. So I said, fine words, but MMA put down was unfortunate. Martial arts lifts so many people out of despair. Karate used to be a bad boy martial art, and it's now respectably mainstream. Of course, now we're in the Olympics. So too will MMA become. Tumble, roll, wrestle, and tag with your friends in a warm place where no one gets benched and all can learn from cradle to grave. Amateur MMA, like karate, offers a world of lost skills. Otherwise, bravo speech. Okay? And then one of my friends, a couple of people agreed with me, but one of my friends, Jesse, he wrote, odd, as she's playing Dana White in a UFC movie being shot this fall.
That's so hilarious. She's really just building up. It's really just a big plug for her movie coming up.
yeah. I thought that was awesome. Jesse has a really cool sense of humor like that.
No, that's funny for sure. Yeah, no, I just thought we should maybe touch base on that because I know that came up.
It's a good segue into some of our global news that's out there. I love reading anything related to karate, of course, especially that gets in the news. But the thing that I love the most relates to my PhD studies is how martial arts helps people who are vulnerable, especially in post-conflict areas. So there's an article here in 680 News, it's written in Myanmar, where it talks how dozens of teenage girls at school for displaced children line up on the grounds, dressed in white uniforms with belts of various colors, yellow, blue, white. They kick high and they jump with glee before setting into their exercises, shouting in Japanese as they punch into the air. The reason many of these girls are in this class is sobering. They want protection from their own country's military. So what it goes on to say is that many of these families, especially these rural families from this one area, are being persecuted by the local military. So women are abused and raped and attacked, and they need to learn martial arts to try and defend themselves.
Right.
In this one camp where they're learning karate, there's 8,000 people in there. So this is some of the stuff that I love studying. How karate can be really important, just because in Japan, no one joins karate for self-defense.
No, it's for the arts.
Just because it's for shitsuke, which means make me a better person through perseverance, basically, right?
Yeah, which I think karate does a good job of
Absolutely.
doing. Yeah.
But overseas, like everybody gets in karate for self-defense first. Like I was in Cambodia and talking to the coaches of the national Cambodian team, and when they all got into martial arts, it was just because Phnom Penh, the capital, was just a crazy place. It still is. And they had to know how to defend themselves. A lot of them had been beaten up.
Sure.
And there's a really great story how there's an earthquake, massive earthquake in Haiti in 2010. Killed unbelievable amount of people. By 2015, there were still people living in camps, like 40, 50,000 people.
That's right.
And so some of these kids weren't going to school. So there were some staff who were teaching the kids, either karate or taekwondo, and they're just in their t-shirts and they bring like one mitt. And the kids were saying at night, people sneak into the tents and steal stuff or abuse people. So they had to know karate and martial arts to protect the very few things they still had, right? And protect their family. And so, yeah, I love that they're studying this. And because Japan is not a global power, and it's an economic global power, but not a political or military global power, it's Japanese culture is non-threatening around the world. There are stories where there's like a karate club or clubs in Israel where people who are Jewish and Muslim will train together, and they'll bring the Japanese instructor in from Japan, and they're like a neutral force. They're not like from Russia or China or United States or Europe. So that might also have an agenda.
Right.
Yeah, so stuff like that is really cool.
Well, I know at one point, and probably at some capacity they still do, but they used to teach karate to the military forces as well. A lot of self-defense, but even just karate techniques, because just for its applicability to hand-to-hand combat as well.
Absolutely, absolutely.
No, so it's interesting.
Actually, in the Vancouver area, there is a group called the Police Judo Club.
Okay.
So it's organized by police officers, and they train so the police officers are able to do something. It's actually quite old, but now they have like a junior program, so you can go in there and learn judo from police officers. And a lot of the kids will join. I went into judo first because my mom wanted me to learn self-defense.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, that's really cool piece of the news. I like seeing stuff like that. I remember when I first started studying this topic, I was like, oh, maybe nobody studies it. And then the further I got into it, it's like, no, everybody studies it.
Yeah.
Like it's huge.
And talking a little bit about combat sport athletes making the crossover or whatever to karate. You said you started in judo, then you went to karate. A recent news article that we found here at localexpress.ca in Canada, a Taekwondo world champion, Ryan O'Neill, eyes Olympics in karate.
Welcome, Ryan. Oh, he's already in Dusei-Kan Karate Club in Dartmouth. Hey, guys.
Yeah.
Hope you listen to us here.
So this is talking about Halifax's own Ryan O'Neill, who was a world championship in Taekwondo, now wants to put his eyes on the Olympics for karate.
It's interesting because, 10 years ago, there was karate people shifting over to Taekwondo.
Yeah, that's true, yeah.
After karate had, so many times been declined from going into the Olympics. This is really interesting. Ryan. Now, it looks like he was in a Taekwondo organization that wasn't the Olympic one.
No, it wasn't. And what also is interesting is that he's making the switch. So he's going from Taekwondo to karate to compete in karate to try and get to the Olympics. However, in Taekwondo, he was not even a Taekwondo fighter, from what I understand. He was more into the forms and the patterns, which in Taekwondo is called pumse, which is the kata version of in Taekwondo. So he was a pumse, kata athlete in Taekwondo, coming to karate, and he has aspirations of fighting in kumite. So we'll see. It's interesting. I think some of the techniques in Taekwondo, absolutely, especially the kicks, can relate to karate and scoring points. But it'll be interesting to see how his style matches up with some of the karate athletes and how he kind of goes about that and works through the ranks in Halifax.
We should put these links on when we post.
Absolutely.
He's flexible.
Yeah, he's got some
he's looking sharp.
Good pictures here for sure.
And he's only 20 years old, so
sky's the limit, really.
Sky's the limit.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate he got stuck, and it says here in the article, given his lofty achievements, but he was a practitioner of the International Taekwondo Federation system, while the World Taekwondo Federation style will be used in the Olympics. The two organizations are not affiliated. I mean, that's what skateboarding is going through, right?
Yeah, that's true.
There are 3 skateboarding organizations. Yeah. Wasn't that the thing with skiing? I can't remember the name of the organization, but the ISF, International Sport Federation for International Disc Ski or something, they decided to create a snowboarding category. Well, there was also a World Snowboarding Group.
Okay.
And so some of the top snowboarders were outside until they were able to merge or do something. So this is not an uncommon thing. Even karate had 2 competing international federations. One was a specific style only, and then there was the WKF.
Right.
So, he's not the only one who's been stuck and had to go through something like this. So, Ryan, go for it, man.
Yeah, go get her. Get her, Tiger.
Yes. The reporter thinks the Nationals are at the end of January, but they're end of February. Yeah. So don't go to the wrong place.
Yeah. Don't show up in Quebec in January.
That's right.
All right. And I think you got another little Karate Global News article there that you came across as well.
Oh, yeah. Well, right on the Olympia website, there is an article here called Young Ambassador Fighting Gender Inequality with Karate. Since the Nanjing 2014 Youth Olympic Games, Anna Maria Stratau has been inspired to help make karate accessible to women in Moldova. So really, what she wanted to do was, the boys were doing karate and she was doing dancing. So she wanted to also join it with her brother. And by the time she was 23, she got her black belt. She was the highest ranked athlete from Moldova in her sport. So now she's a young ambassador to the Youth Games 2014. She's on the National Olympic Committee, the NOC, for her country. This is interesting. Goes back to can girls only do dancing and boys only do martial arts? And I did that when I was in Japan. We used to have girls do dance and boys do karate. Okay. And it was in 2011 that they said, no, they have to both do both.
You're talking in the schools?
Yeah, in all the middle schools.
Right.
So there's too much gender specifics. Now, they never made the boys do dance, but they did make the girls do martial arts. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It says here that they're working on their first women's karate festival. Okay. So it's basically a test event. But it was a great success, or they just had it. No, this is awesome. It's great to see And their badges are called Moldova Club Samurai Karate WKF. And they've got a tori,
Yeah.
right, from a Shinto shrine, tori. No, this is great. Shows that, women can be involved, kids can be involved. And we'll put this link up there. This is pretty cute. All of them in their uniforms. And more K is on the way.
Yeah, that's great. And just kind of one more Karate Global News article, one thing that we wanted to bring you guys. So as we mentioned before, Karate 1 Premier League event in Paris is set to happen at the end of January.
First K1 of the year.
First K1 of the year. It's going to be a big one. And it's set to attract record number of participants, it says here.
But Craig was saying because it's a non-senior WKF year, some of the leading athletes might not attend it.
Okay.
But here in their article, they're saying this is the largest number of regular competitors. Paris, this is a really old tournament. I mean, it's been going around since late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah. It says here 1,100 competitors are expected to show up this year from 77 different nations. They've already confirmed the participation in the flagship events in international karate. So, again, a big historic event, I guess, setting records in Paris.
Well, it says there's 8 of the 12 current world champions will actually be there.
Yeah.
Well, that's fantastic.
There you go. Over 300 clubs will be represented. 133 coaches and 86 countries are registered to participate. So 150 referees are going to be there as well.
That's a lot of shimpan.
A lot of shinpan. Yeah. They've been practicing their shinpan-ru.
Shinpan-ru.
Yeah. So again, that's at the end of this month. January 22nd is when it starts. January 27th to 29th is the actual K1 Premier League. And again, we have one of our coaches here, the national coach, Craig Devlin, going to that. So hopefully we can try and rope him in and get his kind of thoughts on that and all that kind of things there. But yeah, that's pretty exciting that, again, karate tournaments just keep getting bigger, it seems.
Yeah, absolutely. Keep growing. And now when you go to websites like Inside the Games, karate is listed up there alongside, boxing and rowing and judo and stuff. So it's great to see it's getting that amount of visibility.
Hoo-yah! Wah-yah! Hoo-wah!
All right, guys, this week for our karate training tip, what we kind of want to talk a little bit about is high-intensity interval training.
Hit me.
High. I see what you did there. The puns are off the wall right now. So high-intensity
It's Friday night. And I don't feel
No, so that's Monday morning.
It's Monday morning. I've been training since Friday night.
That's right, haven't stopped.
Squats.
So everybody it's kind of a hot thing that's come up in the fitness world in the last, decade, I would say, in the last several years, is high-intensity interval training, which basically is just interval training at high intensities, believe it or not. But one of the things is, I've had some people ask me, well, what is the best kind of, how do you do interval training? How do you do high-intensity interval training? What is the best high-intensity interval training? So let me ask you, what do you think, what are your kind of general thoughts on high-intensity interval training? What is it, and kind of how do you do it?
Well, putting
you on the spot here a little bit.
Put me on the spot? Well, obviously you want to do interval training that works your energy systems and matches how you actually might compete.
Very good. That is one of the most important factors. Yeah. So in karate, let's just relate this to karate because this is the Karate 360 podcast. So we talking high intensity interval trainings. We talk about a work to rest ratio, which just basically means the work of how hard you're actually working or how long you're working to how long you're actually resting. So say in let's start with kumite first. In a kumite match, how long do you generally work for? One kind of exchange lasts how long?
Well, the matches we watched, it wasn't very long there in the final.
No, let's maybe leave finals out of it.
It's got to be a 1 to 3. And the kids are like 1-1 because they just move they just go.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah.
But maybe it's 3 rests, 1 action, the average person.
Yeah. And so what would you say, 10, how long is the work? 10 seconds, 15 seconds, 15
in
seconds.
total?
Yes.
Not long.
We're talking.
So, even if you did a 45-minute break, 15 seconds on, and then if you're doing interval training and went into then you shorten your rest period, keep your keep your training period
Yeah,
the same period. I mean, when we did interval training before, we would start off with like 30-30s and then 30-20s, 30-15, 30-10. It was brutal,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And then training for kumite, we'd start off we do 1 minute on, 1 minute off for sparring matches. And then inside that work ratio, it'd be like at least 3-to-1 rest to work.
Yep.
And then as we got closer, we would we'd do two things. Sometimes increase both the rest time and the kumite time, or we would just keep decreasing the rest time.
Yes, and that's probably the best approach for karate, I would say.
Yes.
A typical high-intensity interval training, and one of the things that gets taught is Tabata training, I'm sure you've heard, which is just Tabata, who is just a skiing coach, actually kind of came up with the concept. But that's a 20-second work, 10-second rest, which is kind of a good thing to start with, I guess. But yeah, that's actually the best way to do it, is start with a 20-second, 10-second rest, and then slowly decrease the rest time, because in karate, especially when it gets to the later 30 seconds of a round, it's very short rest whenever there's a yame called, and then the work can be quite fast for maybe 5-6 seconds, and then it's another 2-3 seconds yame, and then you go right back at it again, at least for the last 30 seconds or whatever, if it's a close match. So you need to be trained to be able to do that, and what we always want to say is, you want to be overcompensated. You want to be overtrained. So you want to be the point where that's not a problem. So usually you start at 20 seconds on, 10 seconds off, then you maybe go 20 seconds on, 5 seconds off, and then you go start increasing the work. So the 25 seconds on, 10 seconds, and you keep doing that until, kind of as high as you can get it. 1 minute work and a 1 minute rest is obviously 1-to-1 for like a simulated match or whatever. But if you work for 1 minute and rest for 20 seconds, that's a pretty good work to rest. Yeah. I
remember when Toki Hill came and gave us some seminars, and he had just been at the Olympic Training Center in Lake Placid. And so they had done the strength and conditioning coaches had done some studies on what would be great to start athletes out with interval training. So they had a 15-15. So he had us work for 15 seconds on, 15 seconds off.
So 1-to-1 work.
1-to-1 work. Yep. And then, but the 15 on, he really wanted hard.
Sure. That's the idea. Yeah. High intensity.
As high intensity as we could go.
Yep.
And then there was a strength and conditioning coach for the Canucks that Craig and I used to hire. And he was a 20-20 guy. And then he eventually was trying to show us how, can you get the work time up to a minute, but still only keep your rest at 20 seconds?
Yes, yeah. So that's the idea. Try and keep the rest as low as you can and the work as high as you can, and slowly start, through your periodization table, start to put it a little bit more work and a little bit less rest. And that's the idea. You want to be able to work as long as you can with as little rest, obviously.
And it's not just the physiological training, it's the mental training.
Totally.
Right?
Yeah.
It's total, do you want to get in there and do another round?
Yeah.
If Pete's listening to us in Japan, we used to do a lot of interval training, and we used to monitor it by how many T-shirts we had to wear.
Okay.
So if it was a 3 T-shirt workout, we worked out hard.
Ooh, that's a tough workout.
Hard.
That's a tough workout, 3 T-shirts.
And so, I love this workout where it's 15 minutes, and we're on for 50 seconds, and we do 10 to 15 second breaks, and we go for 15 minutes, and we have five stations, so we're going through 3 circuits.
No, I love that. That's good.
Then we take 2-3 minutes off, and then we do another one. So I would do 2 cardios, 2 50-minute cardios, then 1 50-minute strength. Then we would do mitt work for 15, and then we would spar for 5 or 6 rounds at least.
No, that's a great little program right there.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was 90 minutes, and then when we got quite fit, we added a half-hour weight training after it, of like high intensity, not that heavy weight training.
Sure. Yep. Now, how would you think? What do you think is the best way to monitor? How do you monitor intensity? How do you know how intense you're going?
Oh man. Well, we did it by T-shirts, but yeah, there's the instinctive of like, once I started my workout, I never told myself like, it doesn't matter how much sleep, it doesn't matter how much food, it doesn't matter where you're at in your life, like it's just about you. Yeah. But I would guess that monitoring your heart rate.
Very good.
Right? Very good. It's a really good way of.
You know what world I come from.
Yes.
Yes. And that's one of the things that I think where karate is going to go. and I'm going to take it, but is the heart rate monitors. And that's something that we've done here in class here is, trying to find out what is somebody's maximum heart rate and then trying to determine what percentage are you actually working at. Because, sometimes you can be working hard, or it appears like you're working hard, but really you're only working at 75 to 80% of your maximum heart rate.
We need to slap those on a few people.
That's right. We do. Yeah. And we have.
Yes.
So that's a great way that I think heart rate monitors are going to be something that are going to be used a lot more, and they are in more mainstream like MMA and that kind of thing. But I think it's going to be something that the karate world can start using.
Now with interval training, if you know where your maximum is and you try and train at a threshold like 80% or something, then is there something about not stressing out your heart too much? Like you can train it. If you train too hard and it takes like 3 or 4 days to recuperate, so maybe you should not train that necessarily that hard.
It depends on what your training goal is. Now we've talked a little bit on here before about the anaerobic threshold or the lactate threshold. So by doing high intensity interval training, by monitoring your heart rate, you can actually find out where your threshold actually is just by monitoring heart rate over a period of time. And anytime you go over that you're gonna have some decrement in performance the next day or whatever, but also through training you can get that point to be even higher. So depending on what your goal is for the training session, if you say today I'm going to train to try and increase my anaerobic threshold, well, hopefully you're not training or competing for sure the next day, but you can be training to kind of make that point go even higher so that you don't have to worry about it.
I think I used to do Iaido for 4 years, and really fascinating. One thing I didn't like was my heart rate never went up. Ever.
You haven't trained enough with me then.
Yeah. No, I'm talking about Iaido.
Oh, in Iaido.
In Iaido, sword training, right?
Yes, yeah.
It's like a lot of it's really slow. It's almost like
very technical and
very technical and slow, like
methodical.
Tai Chi with a sword.
Yeah.
And you have to if you use a Shinken, which is a live blade, which I don't want to use. Then I remember somebody having a heart attack. Like he was like early 50s or something. He just did Iaido and he was amazing at it, but he had a heart attack. And I was like, he was looking a little bit overweight because he never got his heart rate up. Like he never pushed himself.
Yeah.
So there's nothing wrong with Iaido. It's just that, outside of Iaido, you should be doing training.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
So.
And it's a great tool for coaches to use as well. You can exactly see where somebody's heart rate is. So you know their percentage.
Yeah. So I think as recreation athletes, they should wear a heart rate monitor. They should go in there because I think in some karate clubs, sometimes they don't push themselves hard enough.
Totally. No, I agree. And, you see sometimes, and we've certainly seen it before too, is where you see athletes that will maybe not train as hard as they should or could in training, and then they go to competition and maybe they expect to do a little bit better. I mean, they still do maybe good, and when competition comes, they push themselves hard, but it's like, okay, well, we need to get this out of you in training.
Yes, they're not used to it.
They're not used to it, yeah. Well, if you know what their maximum heart rate is, then you can kind of say, you're not training hard enough.
It's just like a Dan test, in some ways, because people don't, the training of the tense, but they're not performing well, and then they get to a Dan test and they think they're going to perform great, and yet they haven't pushing themselves, making it as realistic. So throwing those heart rate monitors on, absolutely,
it's great. Yeah,
absolutely. Does the Apple Watch monitor heart rate?
It does. Some of those watches, there's the Apple Watch, there's the Fitbits that you can get now and all those kind of things. Actually, they did an interesting study a little while ago, just came out a couple months ago, actually, where they compared all of those kind of heart rate monitors. They had them all do the same kind of thing in a bunch of different participants, and they all reported different heart rates. So they're not very reliable.
Not very well calibrated.
Not very well calibrated, and oftentimes they take some time to actually read, because really they're just reading it usually through your skin, the pulse through your skin. Which isn't as accurate as actually getting the actual heart rate monitors, which monitor more electrical signal than the actual pulse on the skin. So, it's it is one way to do it. There's actually some apps that work surprisingly well now, actually, too. I have one that I've tested with my actual heart rate monitor, where you just stick your finger on the light at the back of the camera on your cell phone, and it'll actually pick up the blood flow in the pulse in your finger, and it's actually surprisingly accurate. It takes 10 seconds to get going.
Technology.
It's great, and it's just going to keep getting better. So technology, use it.
That's right. Embrace it, use it. But you don't have to replace your iPhone every year.
No, some people do. All right, guys. Well, thank you again for listening to episode 18.
Juhachi.
What?
That's 18 in Japanese. Juhachi.
Okay. There you go. Episode Duhachi to Karate 360. This was great. A lot of good things coming out of the karate world, and we're going to continue bringing that to you guys.
That's right. We started the show and you swept high. We jumped low.
That's right. So again, thanks for listening. If you guys have any comments or anything you want us to talk about, we love hearing about it. We love, when you guys come up to say, oh, I love that part of the show. Oh, pliability. Yes, that's great. We'll talk about that, blah, blah, blah. So again, find us on the social media. You can find us on Facebook. That's kind of where we run most of our things through. Karate 360 podcast on Facebook. Find us, talk to us, let us know, and join in our conversation.
Yeah, this week, I'm thinking interval, 15 seconds on, 15 seconds off.
The kids are
they can't wait now.
Yeah. We're not going to let you start doing these podcasts anymore.
Right.
Sensei, every time. It's always
Monday morning. Okay, everybody, 15 on, 15 off.
Yeah. So again, guys, this is episode 18. Richard, this was great.
Thanks a lot, man.
Yep, no problem. And
Look forward
again,
to this every
these
week.
come out every Monday morning. We record them Friday nights. They come out Monday mornings. Don't forget to subscribe to us on all the channels, YouTube, iTunes, Google Play. We're all over the place. Find us, subscribe, share, talk, and like. That's
right. Make sure you remember the dates of the big tournaments coming up, especially Canada Open, June 3rd and 4th. If you want to know what's happening in Japan and what's happening in karate, check out my book, Sunny Leads Volume 1. Google it. It's on Amazon.
And there we are. Thanks, guys. This is episode 18, and we'll talk to you next week.
I'm Richard Mosdell.
I'm Kalan Anglos.
San Lokumaru.